The Walk is the new film by Robert Zemeckis, who has created such classics as Back to the Future, Castaway, and Forrest Gump. And what this movie's about, it's based on the true story of Philippe Petit, a French man whose biggest dream is to hang a high wire across the two towers of the World Trade Center and walk it. And if you remember, the two towers were the tallest buildings in the world, so walking across that on a high wire, yeah, it's pretty crazy. Now, I was actually really looking forward to this movie when I found out the director was Robert Zemeckis. I like Back to the Future, I like Forrest Gump, I like Castaway, I like Flight, I even like that Polar Express movie he did. And I gotta say, after I saw the movie, I really enjoyed it. Unfortunately, I think it will bomb at the box office because it was just me and two people behind me, so please go see The Walk. Joseph Gordon-Levitt, I was really worried that this guy's accent was going to get on my nerves because he's an American man doing a French accent. So sometimes that can be a little strange, but I think Joseph Gordon-Levitt handled it very well. I was not distracted by it. I actually dug it and I got used to it very quickly. And his love interest, Annie, I forget the actress that plays her. I think she did a really good job and they really bounced off each other very well because they both have dreams. They both met on the side of the street doing, you know, side of the street activities. Did I really just describe it as side-of-the-street activities? Wow. Okay. You know, you see the people on the side of the street, like, doing the mime stuff, or just doing magic tricks on the side of the street, and there's, like, a circle surrounding people, like, oh, great job, and the police are like, hey, get out. Yeah, that's what they are in this movie. But back to the chemistry, they did a really good job playing off each other. I thought they were really good, and I really bought their relationship. And Ben Kingsley, even though I don't think he was in it enough, I thought he was really good in the movie also. He's Ben frickin' Kingsley, of course he's gonna be good. And overall, I was really hooked to the plot because I had never even heard of this story until the trailers came out. I was like, what is this, based on a true story? And then I looked it up, I was like, that was real, oh my. And then I never researched that story ever again, so watching this story play out in the movie was really fun for me to see because I didn't know what had happened. I know he walked the wire because he's still alive today. But even during that wire walking scene, that scene where Joseph Gordon-Levitt is walking on that wire, the 3D, the CGI, the everything, amazing. I really like the way Robert Zemeckis filmed that. I really like the way it was created. They're so suspenseful because he'd do tricks on it, like he'd just like go down on one knee, and I was just like, no, don't do that, you're gonna fall! And I gotta be honest, guys, I had heard stories about people throwing up when they saw this movie, so there were a couple shots where I was just like, oh god. I had to take off the 3D glasses real quick, and then bring him right back because I was actually getting really scared that I was going to throw up because the 3D is really good. Before The Walk even began, my palms were sweating. Just the anticipation of this guy walking on this wire, the anticipation was killing me. My palms were sweating and I was walking out of the theater. I thought I felt sweat up here. That's how nervous this movie made me, but I loved it. That scene went on for like 15 minutes. 15 minutes of pure anxiety, nervousness, and entertainment also. Because this movie does have a couple funny moments also, like maybe the jokes happened in real life, or maybe they didn't, maybe it was just some Robert Zemeckis thing he added in. If it was a thing he added in, then props on you, Zemeckis, that was some funny stuff. And I was really hooked on the movie because the performances were really good, but that's one of my flaws. The performances may have been good, but all of the characters besides Ben Kingsley, besides Joseph Gordon-Levitt, besides the girl who plays Annie, wasn't really interested in them, and the main problem is that they were barely fleshed out for us. Like, you have this one guy who's a friend of JGL and basically was with him throughout the majority of the movie. You got to know him, he was a good character. And then there's this guy that they made who's afraid of heights who also helps JGL for the majority of the movie. You got to know his character, you got to know those two characters, but then they bring in like a stoner guy, or just a guy who speaks French in New York and has a radio, and they didn't really flesh them out, you know? It was basically just, that guy knows something, you want to be an accomplice? Because he never calls them friends, they're accomplices. I think maybe instead of having just one introduction scene of them and then just skimming over them, I think they should have fleshed them out so I could have been more attached to them, because I don't want to be attached to just a couple characters. I want to be attached to all these characters because they weren't unlikable or anything. It's even something that happens that makes you want to unlike a character, but then I'm like, well, I barely got to know that one character that you just mentioned. In fact, I barely remember him, so I don't really care. And if I had to have one other flaw, it's this. The narration. Now, narration in movies. I can mind it, alright? If it's just a voiceover and the scenes are playing out, it's fine. But the way they did it in this movie, it was Joseph Gordon-Levitt in character as Philippe talking to the audience on top of the Statue of Liberty. And throughout that entire time, whenever they cut back to Joseph Gordon-Levitt looking right at the audience, and for my theater it was only 3 people talking to us, all of a sudden he brings a hat behind his back and then a globe and starts spinning, and I was like, am I watching a Discovery Channel thing? What? It's just the narration could have been fine in this movie if they just got rid of the scenes where Joseph Gordon-Levitt was staring right into my eyes. Also, even if you got rid of Joseph Gordon-Levitt talking to the audience, most of the stuff he narrates to me wasn't really necessary. Basically, it was just explaining what we were seeing right now. So basically, he's like walking down the street and he's like, I was walking down the street and then all of a sudden something caught my eye, you know, stuff like that. It's like, we can be able to tell what's going on just by watching you. We don't need you explaining it to us like you're reading a book. The narration wasn't the biggest thing that hurt me, it was the fact that he was narrating to the audience by showing himself. But overall, I had a fun time with The Walk. I thought it was a really good movie. A lot of people might be turned off by the idea that heights and the 3D is really good and the CGI is really good also. That might freak people out, but go see The Walk. If you throw up, then oh well, you throw up. That's great. You threw up in a movie theater. Congratulations. Overall, I'm gonna give The Walk a B+. I thought it was a really good movie. Joseph Gordon-Levitt was great. It's just that there are some characters I didn't really care about, and the narration I think could have been handled better. But if you saw The Walk, leave in the comments below what you thought of it. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe. I'm Jackson Fulcher. See you guys next time.